Good morning and welcome to OLA 2020. Thank you so much for joining us for Bring the Smithsonian to Your Library. My name is Allison Hayes and I am the incoming chair for the Public Library Division. I'm really excited to be moderating this session. And today I am joined by our presenters, Kelly Burns, who is the program officer with the Oklahoma Humanities Council, and Jolene Poore, who is the director of the Ada Public Library. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you. Welcome everyone. Again, my name is Kelly Burns. I've been with the Oklahoma Humanities Council for about 14 years. I oversee Let's Talk About It Oklahoma, which is a statewide reading and discussion program. And this program, Museum on Main Street, that we're going to look at today. So thank you for joining us, and let's get started. So today we're going to explain the Museum on Main Street program, or MOMS as we call it for short, and share some exciting information about the incoming Crossroads exhibit tour. Then we'll hear firsthand from Jolene about her experience with a recent tour called Waterways. And then we'll have a breakdown of all of the benefits and expectations if your library is selected for the program, and conclude with some questions. So just to give you a little bit of information about Oklahoma Humanities, our mission is to help Oklahomans learn about the human experience, understand new perspectives, and participate knowledgeably in civic life. And the way we do this mostly is that we fund programs that utilize the humanities disciplines, which help us explore the human experience. And those disciplines are literature, history, philosophy, ethics, culture, law, and comparative religions. They just really help us understand what it means to be human in this world. And to just give you an introduction to Museum on Main Street, it is a unique alliance of the Smithsonian Institution, state humanities councils, and cultural organizations in small towns across the nation. So MOMS focuses on large, broad topics in American history, and it gives host sites the opportunity to create their own programs and cultural activities around the exhibit themes. Each town is charged with the responsibility of shining a light on their own local history and generating a sense of community pride. And so 6 communities will be selected to host the exhibit for a period of 6 weeks each. So they really just want this to be a community-wide program and to lift up your entire community rather than just your organization. And I wanted to give you a little bit of background information about MOMS to help provide some context for this program. So in the early 1990s, the Smithsonian's Traveling Exhibit Department was sending these expensive, large-scale exhibits to large museums and across the nation, and they just had this epiphany. They're like, 1/5 of Americans live in rural areas, but 1/2 of the US museums are in small towns. And they were like, we're really missing something here. So in 1994, they launched MOMS and designated it specifically for rural audiences. And communities really rallied around the exhibit. It was really exciting and eye-opening for the Smithsonian folks. And they just decided to make programming and partnerships part of this to just really make it, again, that community experience. So who can participate in MOMS? Any cultural nonprofit can apply to host a MOMS exhibit. Like I said, it was created for museums, but they have since, again, had all these epiphanies along the way and really reached out to libraries, chambers of commerce, state parks, arts organizations, you name it. So it's open to libraries, and we're excited about that. Also, the ideal communities are populations of 20,000 or less. And I just want to touch a little bit more on that because this is really important. So the moms folks have observed that when a mom's exhibit is in a very large city, it tends to get lost among other competing events. So if you're from a larger city and you'd like to participate, just get creative. Just let us know in your application how you're going to make this small town exhibit, or this exhibit that was created for small towns, accessible, and make it stand out in a large area. We just don't want it to get lost. Here in Oklahoma City, we have the Oklahoma City Museum of Art across the street. We have the Oklahoma History Center, and they're bringing these large, fancy exhibits. And we want to know that that this Crossroads exhibit is in the game. Conversely, I also want to state that because this program was made specifically for small towns, we mean small. And this exhibit specifically talks about small town life. So we're talking as few as 300 people have been successful hosting this program. All you need is community support and great volunteers, and Oklahoma Humanities and the Smithsonian Institution provide training. So we don't care how small you are. We don't care about your lack of experience. We will help you put this together. Space requirements. So this is an exhibit. It does require 750 square feet and 8-foot ceilings. The exhibit consists of 6 freestanding double-sided panels and 1 interactive kiosk. And I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. You'll also need access to electricity for the interactive components. For those of you who may not have 750 square feet all in one space, if you don't have a meeting room that satisfies that requirement, the exhibit panels can be placed in different areas. And so that's something to consider if you need to break them apart. If you do that, you might want to consider putting footprints on the floor or something that leads people to all of them so that certain panels aren't neglected. The themes of the Crossroad exhibit are rural identity, land, community, perseverance, and managing change. And each of these concepts will mean different things to different communities, and how they interpret them will vary greatly. So I'm not going to go too much into that because it's really up for interpretation. And so now I'll bet you're wondering what this exhibit looks like. Welcome to Crossroads. This is the welcome panel for the Crossroads exhibit. It has been the backdrop for ribbon cuttings at opening celebrations across the nation, and it really just kind of gives you a feel for what the exhibit will be like. A nice big welcome. When you look at this photo, don't panic. Your exhibit space does not need to be this spacious. Small towns sometimes have large venues, sometimes they don't. What I really wanted to demonstrate with this photo is the footprint of the panels. Notice how narrow these bases are. And remember that these are double-sided panels, so the content is on both sides. This really allows the Smithsonian to cram as much content into as small a space as possible. All we need is just room enough for it to be accessible to everyone, so there needs to be room for wheelchairs to get through. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about, oh, there are these 6 large panels, I don't know if I have room. If you have that 750 square feet, we'll make it happen. And parts of the exhibit explore how rural life is depicted in literature and art. And I found this photo that has a bookshelf that's part of the exhibit there, that blue bookshelf on the left. And the Smithsonian has already curated a book list for adults and children which I thought would be interesting for libraries. And they already have a list of appropriate movies to complement the exhibit too. Frankly, they have all kinds of educational information that they've already curated for us, so it's really nice. So this is just a list of partnerships that you might consider in your planning. Host sites are required to have at least 2 local partners. If your library is selected, it will receive much of the credit for bringing the Smithsonian to town, but we want you to shine a light on those other organizations too. Strategic partnerships can really make your job easier. They can provide invaluable resources that you may not have. So you might consider working with a museum to showcase your local history. Maybe they can offer a special day where they offer free admission because the Smithsonian is in town. Or you could work with arts organizations to have Crossroads themed art classes, or have them paint a mural on the wall next to your exhibit space. You could have a speaker talk about water conservation concerning farming. You can just really do so much with partnerships. So when you give credit to your partners, you show them that they also have an important voice in your local Crossroads story. Each host site is required to have at least 2 public programs that complement the exhibit. And again, you'll have the exhibit for 6 weeks. So 2 programs should be pretty attainable. And also, if you have partners that are hosting programs, that takes a lot off your plate. So just consider book discussions, movie screenings. You could potentially work with a local theater to screen the movie for you. Good partnership idea. And art, poetry, and writing workshops, panel discussions, architectural tours, living history portrayals, and how-to workshops. So just some ideas to kind of get you going. Just be creative. And we do ask for your programming ideas in the application, but they don't have to be fully developed at this point. These are just your initial thoughts. Oklahoma Humanities will have a program planning meeting, and we will ask all of the participants from the host sites to come, and we'll flesh out those ideas together. So, capacity building. It's a big deal in the MOMS program. Capacity building is an investment in the effectiveness and future sustainability of a nonprofit. And so each town is different and will have different needs. In the application, we ask that what kind of skills your organization would like training in. So some of these topics that we offer, but are not limited to these topics, we take recommendations to. Docent training. So why would a library know how to lead people through an exhibit? We can train you on that. Let's say you want to have a large kickoff event to celebrate the Smithsonian coming to town, but you don't really have event planning skills. We got you covered. Complementary exhibit fabrication. So if you wanted to have a small exhibit that showcases your local history, we could help you with that. Also, fundraising and grant writing kind of go hand in hand, but are a little different. We want you to be able to raise funds once the Smithsonian is gone, also while they're here. Then, of course, there's marketing and publicity strategies, oral history collection, which I think would lend itself really well to this type of program, catching community voices for future posterity. I think that's awesome. And then social media campaigns if you're trying to reach younger audiences. And now Jolene is going to tell you a little bit about her experience with Moms in Ada with our waterways tour that just closed.
Well, thank you, Kelly. I'm Jolene Spore. I'm the director here at Ada Public Library. I'm on switch over real quick to my notes. Okay, I apologize for that. I'm going to go ahead and pick up my headset here for better audio. So anyways, as I was saying, Oklahoma Humanities is really an excellent support system. They help you through the entire process, from the grant process to even taking you and helping set up the first exhibit in Oklahoma on site. So you get hands-on experience from people that they fly in from the Smithsonian to make sure that you know how to set up this exhibit. So when we started with waterways, and this was a really difficult subject for me because I kept wanting to veer off into the science aspect of it. I went to and looked at our stakeholders in the community who had interest in water and or activities, events within the city, and bring those stakeholders together. Again, to sit down and work face to face. Getting people to work face to face and having that relationships, it bonds them together, opposed to being emails and stuff like that. It's a little bit more challenging, but I felt it was worth the effort to get that done. One of the things that we know about ADA is to get people to attend, we know we have to involve kids. So we took the stakeholders' ideas and we tried to expand them to include kids whenever possible. For example, our opening ceremonies, we had booths from our stakeholders giving out information about the different their different organizations, but we also asked them to include crafts or handouts for the kids. So we had kids coming and doing carnival games and things like that. That if we hadn't had that, there wouldn't be something there for the kids, and we wouldn't have got that attendance there. In fact, even the fire department brought out one of their engines, their new engine, and the kids got to climb on it and talk to the fire department. So that was a very big aspect of it, and we carried that through all of our activities. Our partnerships we had a lot of partners, and from that we've developed some really good partnerships. First one is the Ada Arts Council. They actually had a opening the same night as our opening for the exhibit. So we had the exhibit in the middle of the room. We had the art around the walls, and we incorporated the announcement of the winners into the opening ceremony, which was downstairs. We closed the street, and so those winners were announced. Those were people that most likely would not have attended this exhibit much, or gone to the library had it not been for involving their interest, which was the art. Because of that, the Art Council also did 2 watercolor classes, one for adults and one for children, which was very well attended. We were maxed out in space. And then we've also decided to have 2 art shows each year, one in the spring for the children, which would include a scholarship, a university scholarship for the high school students, and then one that's an open art show in the fall. Of course, we've had to adjust those because of COVID-19, but that is our plan. So now we've got 2 art shows in the library scheduled for on a regular basis that we didn't have before this exhibit. A second is OLA Institute, which East Central has a water research and resource department, and bachelor's program. I think it may be actually a master's now. And part of that, or a branch off of that, is the OLA Institute, which is funded through grants of going out and testing water in the communities and actually throughout the state. We specifically timed when we wanted to have this, our exhibit, to try to coincide with when their annual conference had been in the past. We were hoping that we would get them on board, and as a result, we actually set up, we're able to have these individuals who are renowned water experts come and do a tour of the exhibit here at the library. We worked with eCentral, we provided shuttle services, things like that. So we were able to develop that relationship. Because that came off really well, the contacts I've made there have reached out to me at various times to come in and talk to their organization. So we've developed stronger relationships there with the university to be able to get them interested in pulling us into the university aspect of as a library. And one of the ones that was really a surprise to me, anybody that's worked with the Chickasaw Nation understand they are phenomenal, and they have so many opportunities and resources available. It's unbelievable. They actually arrange for our staff storytellers come in and tell fantastic stories involving everything from creation, which included the earth and water and all that, but also it allowed us as a library to develop a relationship with these artists. We had actually planned on having one of them come in and doing a gourd art seminar this last spring. Of course, we had to cancel that. And we've also talked to them about coming in and doing additional story times and other art and native art workshops. So those are contacts that we would not have been able to make if it hadn't have been going through the MOMS program or Museum on Main Street. So we're really excited. And those are just a couple of the examples. Anytime you can get people involved, the fire department, things like that, and make them realize the library is not just a building. We're people, we're part of the community. It really helps out, because then you know, they take ownership. They're part of our organization. Surprisingly, we had 1,300 people visit the exhibit, and our community is right at 17,500 people. So we had 1,300 visit the exhibit. We had over 2,100 people attend our programming, and we did everything from the Let's Talk About It book series to watercolor classes to a lecture, and we actually had a presentation. One of our the university group did a research on water and conservation in Ada specifically, and it was one of the really neat things. I'm getting off track here, but that was found in that they literally went door to door and asked people these series of questions about water, and people in certain areas of our community are so impoverished, hopefully that's the right word, that they are literally getting water from their neighbors by garden hose to be able to wash dishes and things like that. So to learn those type of things were pretty interesting, exciting. So back on topic, we had 290 new patrons established during that time. We've established 5 solid volunteers, and all of us know what that means to have that volunteer that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I've got a children's event this weekend. Can you come pass out name tags or something? And also, because of all of the time the newspaper was coming to the library, they asked me to do a column, which is between the covers. We're trying to be a little bit getting people's attention, gossip at the library, and just talking about different things we have going on at the library, banned book week, things like that, aspects that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to a library. One of the other things that was really beneficial to us outside of our partnership is building our team, internally building our team and motivating them. Sometimes I felt like, I don't know, Paul Revere, the Smithsonian is coming, the Smithsonian's coming. I was always trying to motivate them. Sometimes I felt a little unnerved about that maybe I was making a bigger deal than it was. but it really got the team involved and got their buy-in. And when they're excited about something, they make patrons excited about it, which was a really great thing. And letting everybody take part in it. However, you always have experiences that in a second, if you had a second chance, you'd do differently. And some of those I'll share with you in hopes that maybe you won't make the same mistakes as I did. I think that we had too broad of list of programs. I think I would have probably narrowed it down and maybe combined some of them and been a little bit more focused, so I didn't feel like we were all over the place. Make sure my partners and volunteers understand my expectations of what I need from them, and that includes labor. For example, our historical society agreed to help us with the second part of the exhibit, which was the history of Ada Water. We pulled down the art exhibit, we put the history of Ada Water exhibit up, and they brought in a half a dozen photocopied pictures to put up, and that was not what I was looking for. And it wasn't necessarily their fault. I was wanting things that could have been, I was hoping to be matted or look like they were matted with captions underneath. So to get to that point, it required a lot of extra work on my time over the weekends getting that done. So I didn't make sure your expectations are clear and that they understand and agree to those. Make sure you communicate with your staff. I have this bad habit of, I don't want to burden my staff if I take on these huge projects because I don't want them to be overwhelmed. It came back to me that lack of communication was perceived as not wanting them involved. So there was some times that I could have definitely shared more information, and they would have felt more in the program. And schools, the waterway was kind of difficult as a sell-in, especially not having done this exhibit before. Crossroads would be a lot easier, but if I was to do it over, I would actually contact the principals and superintendents and say, hey, I would like to talk to your teachers at in-service. Get in front of your teachers and talk to them. We had a group of 5th and 6th graders that came in. They were, I think there was 5 groups of them, 20, 30 each. We were able to create a scavenger hunt through the exhibit, and we did a little tour and then just let them loose, and it engaged 5th and 6th graders for over an hour and a half. We never progressed to the point where we did the craft that we had planned. So those of you who work with that age group, that is an accomplishment to get them to be that engaged for that amount of time. We also did popsicle boat builds, and we did race them on a Saturday. Our fire department, police department, and parks department have a metal boat in our basement. We have a basement used for storage. We filled that little sucker up with water, and we raced popsicle boats on Saturday. And we have parents coming in to the library who have never stepped foot in the library, but we're here again specifically because their kids were here, and those kids had so much fun, absolutely so much fun. Our Friends of the Library sponsored Hobby Lobby gift cards going along with the craft theme, and you would have thought you'd given those kids $1 million. It was a really cool aspect of the project. It's a lot of work. I won't lie to you and tell you it's not. It's also a lot of fun. Having done it again before, there's things I do different, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. But also, Kelly's there. She will walk you through any aspect of it. They questions when I was filling out the grant, I ran them by her, and she'd help me out. They had a programming meeting like she talked about. They bring in a scholar who can answer aspects about the exhibit and things like that is there to be a support system as well. And the Smithsonian is there too. I mean, they send somebody to help you with your program training. They send somebody to help you set up the first time. Um, it comes in huge cases. They roll like a dream. We rolled them up to our elevator to the second floor. It was an easy setup compared to what you think. They have a case with every screw labeled. You just follow the instructions and off you go. So if it's something that you're interested in, don't let it hold you back just because it seems a little bit daunting. It is definitely worth doing. It's definitely something that get your community behind. And honestly, it's something I would never have been able to do if it hadn't been for Oklahoma Humanities in this grant. I've looked at some others, and you know, you're looking $20,000 easy, and that's not including the freight to have them shipped in and shipped out. So those are things not in my budget, but this was something we were able to bring because of this opportunity. Kelly?
Thanks, Jolene. So when you look at the application, please do not be intimidated by its link. I can provide you a list of the questions so you don't have to log into our online system just to get a feel for what's involved. When you print out the list of questions, it's 10 pages long, but it is a 40% about is the narrative about the exhibit and instructions to tell you exactly what we need so that you don't have so many questions. So a lot of it is narrative. So don't look at it and think this is intimidating, because the benefits are well worth the effort. So Oklahoma Humanities provides the exhibit rental and the freight costs. This is not free from the Smithsonian to us because Oklahoma Humanities is a partner. We pay for it. We pay for it on your behalf because we don't want it to cost you anything. The freight costs, we've had a partner in the past that has charged us a 75% or given us a 75% discount, and they went out of business due to COVID. So I'm heartbroken over that, and hopefully we can find another deal that great, but freight costs are astronomical. We provide you assistance with your complimentary programs. Jolene mentioned that we have the expertise of a humanities scholar, again, that we contract with. We pay this scholar to help all of the communities put together their complimentary programs. It could be that you know, you generally know your local history, but this humanities scholar may know aspects that don't occur to you. So that's really what we're looking for, is for them to uncover those hidden gems of information that you might not have already. We cover travel expenses for two people from your organization to come to the program planning meeting, which is probably going to be a 2-day event. We cover your hotel, your food, mileage. It's all covered by us. And then we also have started a new thing where we are also inviting one person from each of your 2 partner organizations to come to that training. We want to promote buy-in for them into this program. So it's important that they're involved in that way. Marketing, postcards and posters are provided by the Smithsonian. They create them for the exhibit. And then there's the capacity building training, which, you know, will probably happen at that program planning meeting. We do the survey, find out what you all want to learn, and kind of go with the more popular training topics. And then we give you a capacity building grant of $5,000. And it's only been $1,000 in the past, which it can be hard to expend $1,000 when you're just doing programming. In the past, that $1,000 was limited only to programming. But we've decided this is a capacity building project. We want you to have a larger amount of money, and you can use it toward anything that benefits this program. So When I was a kid, when I was in elementary school, we used to go on field trips pretty regularly. And the older I got, the more we would hear, oh, well, the kids can't afford the $3, a piece to bring in buses. So use this $5,000 to bus in the kids. Use it for your kickoff event. Hire live music. Bring food trucks out. That's really popular right now. Whatever you need to do to make this special. Just think, outside of, just the normal programming types of things. So this is all given to the host sites free of charge. It's a significant investment on our part, and we want it to be an investment for you too. So what we want from the host sites is for you all to have a kickoff event of some kind. We have no requirements on what that looks like. It's going to vary based on the organization's resources. At minimally, we would hope that you would have a ribbon cutting with local dignitaries there. Jolene had the mayor write a proclamation in Ada, and that was really a nice touch. So we want you to have a kickoff event of some kind. It can be a big, massive party, or it could be a reception for your donors. Just something to kick it off and say the Smithsonian is here. We require 2 community partners. We require 2 public programs. Also, we're looking for a 1-to-1 match for that $5,000 grant. And that might sound like a lot to some people, but really your volunteer and your staff time are eligible for that match. It does not need to be cash. And so a couple slides back, we saw that Jolene in Ada was able to generate $26,000 worth of in-kind support. That matches our grant, no problem. We do want you to provide security for the exhibit space. Really, what that means is just you have a locking door and it's secure when nobody's around, but also it means that we do need a person who is in sight of the exhibit at all times. And depending on where it is, that can, be easy or difficult. Again, if you have the exhibit confined to one space, easy. If you have those panels spread out throughout your facility, that's going to be harder. The idea behind that is that if some kid comes through and sticks some bubble gum to the exhibit, the Smithsonian needs to know, and they are going to ship out overnight a replacement for that panel. They just need to know if there's going to be any damage, and having somebody's eye on it helps with that. And then we need you to track all of your staff and volunteer time and fill out a final report at the end of the tour. So I'm just going to run through this timeline pretty quickly. Applications are due September 30th. Beginning in October, me and our executive director, Caroline Lowry, will start to look at those applications and plan host site visits. We usually go to every single site to see what your space is like. We've had some surprises that are not easily able to be defined in the application. So we showed up at a host site once, for example, that was in a wide corridor, but there wasn't going to be enough accessibility for handicap audiences because they thought that they could put the panels against the wall. And of course they were double-sided. So things like that, just that don't come through in the application, it's really just good for us to see your site. We'll have our program planning meeting probably in March of 2021. We'll have our installation workshop in September 2021 when the exhibit opens. So all of the people that are chosen for this program are going to come to the very first host site. And the first host site has the benefit of having everybody there because they are going to assemble the exhibit for you. Everybody is going to have a hand in it because we want you to see how easy it is. A lot of the components are, bolts that you turn with your hands, hand tighten only, Allen wrenches. It's so easy, it would blow your mind. So that'll happen on one day, and then hopefully the exhibit opening will be the next day Oklahoma Humanities will pay for a party. It'll be a good time. Hopefully you can stay and be witness to that, and that would be on our dime too. So, and then in June 2022, the exhibit closes. The selection criteria is pretty simple. Like I said, we do look at your physical event space, your programming ideas, your community support through partnerships, and then one thing that's a little out of everybody's control is the geographic distribution. So if two cities are next to each other and they both apply, they're kind of competing with each other. So sometimes we have to look at the dates for availability of those sites. Sometimes it's just, you know, which puzzle piece fits best. So it's something that we consider though. So for more information, you can go to okhumanities.org, and it's our website isn't the best to navigate these days, but you can click on grants and programs and then navigate to Museum on Main Street, and there's a big apply button there that'll get you started. And I just really hope that you all will join us. It's really an amazing program. It does take a lot of planning, but there's a lot of prep time, so it's kind of spaced out. It's more that 6 weeks is a little frenzied, but I hope you'll find it worth the effort. Oklahoma Humanities staff is still working remotely due to COVID-19, so if you have any questions at all, please email me, or you're welcome to call my cell phone. I just ask that it's during regular business hours. And just know that I would rather have you ask me 100 questions, 200 questions, and have a solid competitive application than to not call me at all. Sometimes I have like ideas that can help give you an edge, and I am willing to help everybody in that capacity. And in closing, I just want to thank OLA for having us present this session. And I also want to thank Jolene Poore and Allison Hayes for their help today.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kelly. So what an amazing opportunity this is, and that, you know, it's coming to small spaces, small towns in Oklahoma. Like, this is just so great. So I have kind of a question. I really like your thought about capacity building, like, and helping, you know, these communities, because grant writing can be daunting, event planning, you know, all that kind of stuff. So if someone isn't selected for the grant, is that still something that the Oklahoma Humanities Council can help rural libraries and stuff with? Or do you have resources of where to direct them?
You know, that's an interesting question. Those types of training are really specifically limited to this program. And in large part because it's required by the Smithsonian.
Okay.
So it's not our normal work here at Oklahoma Humanities, but the Smithsonian highly encourages it for their program.
Wow. Well, that's really exciting. So what can set a grant application apart from the rest?
You know, I would say what we really want is just that enthusiasm. That's what we're looking for. When we come for host site visits too, that's another thing. It's not just the event space, it's that we want to see that more than one person is willing to meet with us. You know, have a board person come along with you, or another staff person, your director. We just want to know that there's buy-in and enthusiasm, and that maybe also another important thing for an application would be tell us about your town. What makes it special? So yeah, what makes it special? What is your unique history?
Okay. I think that's really great. Well, and I just want to do a plug for the Oklahoma Humanities Council, because if you have not done Let's Talk About It Oklahoma or participated in any other events that they have and stuff like that, you really should check out their website. They offer a lot of great stuff. So thanks to the two of you for joining us. Do either of you have any final thoughts, any last minute things that you would like to share with participants before we wrap?
Jolene, do you have anything?
No.
Okay.
I think
Well, you have both given us great information and a lot of stuff to think on. And I think too, because like you mentioned, the application is so long and grants are daunting anyway, but the fact that it's broken down, this has really kind of shared with us what you're looking for. I think it'll be very easy to manage. So I just want to thank you so much, Kelly and Jolene, for sharing this information with us. And I want to thank all of the rest of you for joining us for this session. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I also encourage you, if you liked this session, to consider joining the Public Library Division of OLA. We talk about different things like this in our monthly meetings, just information all pertaining to public libraries. And finally, please remember to fill out a conference evaluation, and I hope to see you at some other OLA sessions.